If you keep on the same pattern, playing out the same issues over and over and over again, and you don't break through, you will run out of time. You will get to the end of your life having not stepped into your greatness. Thank you so much for joining us and for being a part of the Unstoppable Woman movement. This Mindset Mastery series on the podcast comes to you every Saturday morning and takes what we discuss in the Morning Mindset Club, compiles it into one easy to access recording, and gives you bonus content at the end that fleshes out one key concept in much more detail. Now, this bonus content is not to be missed. If you're already a part of the Morning Mindset Club, listening to this material a second or even a third time will really lock in the learning for you. If you haven't yet joined us in the Morning Mindset Club, we'd love to have you, and it's free. There's no charge to join, and you will receive this material in short, daily snippets as they come out every morning, along with a specific implementation practice and mastery check-in. It's a full success consciousness program that for the time being is totally free. You can find it at theunstoppablewoman.com/mindset club. With that, let's dive in and get started. Are you ready for the next section? Okay, let's go. Here Hill says, we who desire to accumulate riches should remember the real leaders of the world always have been men who harnessed and put into practical use the intangible, unseen forces of unborn opportunity, and have converted those forces or impulses of thought into skyscrapers, cities, factories, airplanes, automobiles, and every form of convenience that makes life more pleasant. Such goodness there. Okay. So he's saying, we who desire to accumulate riches should remember that the real leaders of the world always have been, and here we're going to substitute women, who harnessed and put into practical use the intangible, unseen forces of unborn opportunity, and converted those forces or impulses of thought into things, he's saying here, and every form of convenience that makes life more pleasant. So let's break this down. So harnessed, he said, harnessed and put into practical use. So harnessing, see, energy is always flowing through us all the time, from infinite intelligence, all the energy that is source, spirit, God, the universe, whatever you want to call that. And it's this undefined power. It doesn't have form. But when it flows through you, you give it form. You harness it by giving it a shape through your thinking. This is the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. Now, a great analogy for this is, let's take a concrete truck. It's churning the concrete and it's going to spit it out. It's going to churn it out. If there is a form for it to go into, you create something solid, something magnificent, something useful. A sidewalk, a kitchen counter, a beautiful floor, a wall, a structure, a building, a foundation. But if you don't give it structure, if you don't create a mold for that gooey, goopy concrete to go into, it just lays there like a bunch of goop. Not useful, not anything that is constructive or helpful. So the power is always there, but you must harness it. You must control it. You have to exert control over it and give it direction. And you're doing that with the unseen, untangible opportunity, the impulses of thought. These impulses of thought you can think of as intuition, which is God or spirit or the universe speaking to you. You get that little hit. That's an impulse of thought. If you pay attention to that and you put it into a form, then you start creating something. Then you've harnessed something. You've put it into practical action. So how are you going to harness your ideas today and put them into practical action? And he talks about creating some things, but at the very end, he says something super important here that makes life more pleasant. Stop and think there. How can you make life more pleasant for yourself, but better yet for others? Because this is the more life directive. This is how we contribute and bring more life to everyone, and how we create, therefore, reciprocally, more life for ourselves. So how can you make life more pleasant for others? That's going to create something fantastic for you. Let me give you an example from my life. So what I do in my business is I help people get out of their own way and collapse time so that they can achieve their greatness, their goals, their dreams in record time, and step into being the kind of person they know themselves to be, but they haven't been living. And that's causing them smallness and contraction, and it's the opposite of what they want. So I help them break free and execute on that, and therefore find their personal freedom in this world so that they never feel constrained again. When I do that, when I take that and give it form through my coaching, my programs, this program, other programs, when I channel it, it provides more life to others. When they have more life, I will have more life. I'm doing this for everyone here, and lots of people are helped. And then some people are going to be like, oh, I want more. I want to take it to the next level. I want to go faster. I want to do what she just said. I want to collapse time on my goals. Let's do this. I'm ready. And they'll come work with me. And that brings me more life. And then I give into them. I pour into them even more. And they grow and they pour into other people. And it's more life for everyone, each in our own individual way. So what is your container for creating more, for harnessing the creative power that is always in you and flowing through you and to you? That's what you need to think about today. Hello, hello. I'm Amira Alvarez, and welcome to another great day with the Morning Mindset Club. Let's dive right in. Today I want to share these two sentences with you. Tolerance and an open mind are practical necessities of the dreamer of today. Those who are afraid of new ideas are doomed before they start. The key thing that I want to point out here there's two or three key things here. One, tolerance. What do we need to be tolerant of? Because there are many things that we need to not be tolerant of. So many people live lives where they look around their environment, their space, their relationships, their bank balance, and they are tolerating things that they do not like, desire, want, and that's quite frankly unacceptable. Those are things you need to not tolerate. A low bank balance, feeling like you don't have enough, toxic relationships, an environment that's chaotic, out of order, emotions that throw you asunder. These are all things that many people tolerate that we need to not tolerate. So tolerance in general is not across the board a thing that you want to just say, oh yes, I'm just such a tolerant person. No, that is going to get you in trouble. Raise your standards. Think about what you're tolerating that you need to not be tolerating right now and make some changes. But there are some things that you do need to tolerate. And one primary example of that are your ideas, your dreams, your aspirations, your wants, your desires. Those, when they come to you, and they will come to you, and they are always coming to you, and they don't stop coming to you, you want to explore, you want to allow them space to become fertile and grow. You want to plant those spiritual seeds that are ideas in fertile ground. That's what we mean by tolerating them. This is where we need to tolerate them. And what I see is that most people do not do this. When they get a big idea, they immediately start to negate it. They immediately start to say, well, how could that happen? And there's no possible way I could do that. Or that would mean that this over here would have to change, and that's just an impossibility. And if I did that, then I would lose this over here. And I wouldn't be able to do that, and I'll be so overwhelmed, and that's going to cost money, and that's going to cost time. And they start seeing all the reasons why they can't do something. And it stems 100% from lack. That is a lack mentality. And I want you to catch yourself out and actually see where you're saying, I can't do that because. Where are the excuses that you're making for executing on your big ideas? Stop tolerating that. That's a place that you don't want to tolerate. Something that you don't want to tolerate. And instead, use the law of sacrifice to eliminate those things, to allow in something of a higher nature, which is acceptance of your great idea, which is, in truth, acceptance of your greatness. Let that drop in. When you accept your ideas, your big ideas, and you eliminate the doubts, the fears, the worries, you step into your greatness. So you cannot be afraid of your new ideas. Those that do so are doomed before they start. But those who don't are able to step into their greatness. And that's what I want for you today. Okay. Hello, hello. I'm Amira Alvarez, and welcome to another great day with the Morning Mindset Club. Okay, we are diving into this paragraph, and it's the last line that I really want you to pay attention to here. Copernicus, the great astronomer, dreamed of a multiplicity of worlds and revealed them. No one denounced him as impractical after he had triumphed. Instead, the world worshipped at his shrine, thus proving once more that, quote, success requires no apologies. Failure permits no alibis. Whew. Let me say it again. Success requires no apologies. Failure permits no alibis. So let's break this down, guys. Success requires no apologies. Do not apologize for your greatness. Do not apologize for your success. Do not make yourself small to make other people feel better. Do not diminish your light so as to somehow, in the process of that, buoy other people up. It doesn't work that way. Never has, never will. So do not make yourself small. Do not apologize for going after your dreams. Do not apologize for being one of the small percent that actually claims what they desire, learns the creative method, learns the creative process, works on the creative plane, and creates it for herself. Besides, let's go further with this. Who are you apologizing to? Are you apologizing to yourself or are you apologizing to others? So how might you be apologizing to yourself? You might be saying, after the fact, I'm sorry for how I treated myself. How many of you have conversations in your head that you would never have out loud and let someone else witness the way you treat yourself? How many of you cut yourself down, say you're so stupid, or why'd you do that, or that was such a F up, or you're a loser, or the more innocuous ways that slip by us, like, you're so wrong for doing that. Or you're like, just that feeling of wrongness, right? Or that like you've made a mistake and then you're guilting yourself over it. So, and then you recognize the error in your way and you're saying, oh, I'm so sorry for treating myself that way. Well, that's great. I appreciate that. And forgiveness is huge. Okay. Self-forgiveness is part of instant manifestation. But what if you raised your standard for yourself and you were simply someone who treated themselves better so that you did not have to apologize for it? Okay? What if your standard that you lived at was so high that you were already in your greatness and there was no need for apology? For instance, and here I'm speaking about something very, very particular. Like, what if you consistently make excuses for something, for not doing something? And then you're apologizing to yourself about it. What if you didn't have to do that? What if you just lived at a different standard? And what's one way that you can hold yourself to that higher standard so that you do not have to ever apologize to yourself? So success requires no apologies. You don't have to apologize to others and you don't have to apologize to yourself. So stop with the excuses, stop with the alibis, okay? And just go for it. Own the success that you want. You don't have to apologize. You can just be you in your greatness, going for more. Now, there is a place where we all make mistakes. Our greatest growth is through the recognition of a lesson learned through a mistake. We learn much more through our mistakes than our successes. But you do not have to apologize for being someone who makes a mistake. That is the human experience. You have to step up to the next level, own the lesson, and continue into your greatness, meaning you don't have to apologize for being you. Now let's look at the failure part. Failure permits no alibis. This means that failure does not accept the excuse that you're giving up and give you a pass. It's going to give you a big F, fail. You didn't do it. It's harsh, but it's true. This is a world of cause and effect. If you consistently come up with excuses, if you consistently change your goal, if you consistently go this way or that way, if you consistently give up on yourself, if you consistently put other people first and beyond you so far that you never do the thing that you know you need to do, failure permits no alibis. It's not going to give you a pass. It's not going to say, oh, sure, you can have this little bit of success over here. No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't say, oh yeah, I know you've had a tough life, or I know that there was this crisis, or I know that you can't do everything. It doesn't say that. It says, here's the effect. You didn't do it. It does not permit any excuses. Now, there is no failure unless you quit. That is a truism. That is true. So pick yourself right back up. Don't accept temporary defeat. Keep going. Okay? It's only a momentary blip. That's a mistake. That's a momentary stop. You pick yourself up, you keep going, and you will succeed. But here's the rub, guys. If you keep starting and stopping, if you don't actually break through, if you don't get to the other side, if you keep on the same pattern, playing out the same issues over and over and over again, and you don't break through, you will run out of time. You will get to the end of your life having not stepped into your greatness, having not executed on your potential, having not lived your purpose. And not to be gruesome or anything, but the end of your life could be today. You could be hit by a car. Let that sink in. Are you going to continue to momentarily quit on yourself? Get distracted. Let the paradigm, the programming, the automatic patterns win out time and time again. That is allowing for failure. That is permitting the excuse to continue. And when you do that, failure permits no alibis. It will not give you a pass. Them's the harsh truth. So don't apologize for your success. Claim it, own it, shine, be in the light. Go for more. That's how you'll help more people. That's how you'll bring everyone up. That's how you'll raise the boats, rising tide lifts all boats kind of thing. But also, build that commitment muscle. Do what you say you're going to do. And do what you need to do to break through the conditioning that's keeping you stuck in the old habits. In this section, Hill says, if the thing you wish to do is right and you believe in it, go ahead and do it. Put your dream across and never mind what, quote, they say if you meet with temporary defeat. For, quote, they perhaps do not know that every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent success. Boom. Mic drop. Okay, this section is so powerful. There are two principal ideas to pay attention to here. So the first one is where the idea of right comes from. So Hill says, if the thing you wish to do is right, how do we know if it's right? Where does this idea of right come from? And implied in right is that there is a wrong and that we could be wrong. And then we go spiraling into doubt. How do we know if what we're doing is the right thing? And so you need to stop here and figure out where right comes from. And for most people, right, wrong is in the hands of others. It's what we've been taught from others. And we give away our inherent power of knowing, truly knowing inherently to us what right is. And we don't have time in this particular format of the Morning Mindset Club to explore that fully, because it's really an incredibly powerful topic to understand. And you really do need to, because in order to free yourself of this limitation, because it's a real limitation. It's what causes insecurity. It's what causes not knowing what's right to do, always questioning yourself, always in self-doubt, always doubting what you want, always kind of chasing your tail, if you will, okay? And looking outside of yourself and not truly trusting yourself. So here Hill is saying, if you believe in it, go ahead and do it. And he's italicized, you believe in it. So that is a clue. That's so important. What do you, not someone else, you believe in? Never mind what they say. And they may be the voices in your head, an authority figure that's dead or alive, or imagine people in your life right now. And I say imagine because sometimes people won't do things because of what their imaginary audience is going to think of them. But it could be a very real, specific person. Are you going to hold yourself back because of what they might say? Think about that. That's a really important piece here. Now, the second aspect of this section, the second idea that I want to flesh out is that every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent success. Every failure, every temporary defeat, every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent success. Now, this is both the law of polarity and the law of relativity at work. The law of polarity says that everything is equal and opposite. So if there is a failure here, or a temporary defeat here, there is a success here, or a temporary win. Okay? So what is that? Look for that. Focus on that. Shift your attention to that. Go to that. Find that. That is your job. That is your requirement. If you're going to live and work the laws, that is what you must do. And the law of relativity says everything just is, until we assign meaning to it. Nothing is big or small. So is this going to be a huge failure, or is this going to be a small failure? Only you get to decide that. Again, it's not the they out there. It's the you. Okay? That is absolutely critical. So take that, run with it, apply it to your life today, and have an amazing day. Good morning. I'm Amira Alvarez, and welcome to another great day with the Morning Mindset Club. Here we have a very, very powerful section. There is a difference between wishing for a thing and being ready to receive it. The state of mind must be belief, not mere hope or wish. Open-mindedness is essential for belief. Closed minds do not inspire faith, courage, and belief. Remember, no more effort is required to aim high in life, to demand abundance and prosperity, than is required to accept misery and poverty. A great poet has correctly stated this universal truth through these lines. I bargained with life for a penny, and life would pay me no more. However, I begged at evening when I counted my scanty store. For life is a just employer. He gives you what you ask. But once you've set the wages, why, you must bear the task. I worked for a menial's hire, only to learn dismayed that any wage I had asked of life, life would have willingly paid. Such juicy lines there. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. Hill says here, there's a difference between wishing for a thing and being ready to receive it. No one is ready for a thing until he believes he can acquire it. So this idea of readiness is super important. A lot of people get ready to get ready to get ready, and they're never going to be ready because readiness doesn't come from outward, activities. It comes from an inside sense of belief. Okay, so no one is ready for a thing until he believes he can acquire it, meaning you don't start a thing until you believe you can do it. The belief comes first. All those outside things that you're messing with, like I need to get the certification, I need to get the equipment, I need to do this first or this first or this first. You just have to start. Now, those might be part of you starting. I'm not going to argue with that, but a lot of times, and only you will know the truth, those things are actually stalling out techniques because you don't actually have the belief to go do the thing that you really want to do. And this is just stalling to, as a unconscious lie to yourself that that's what you need to do first, when really you need to believe in yourself first. So let's talk about what would engender belief. most people, like we've just been talking about, think that they would need something outside of themselves to help them build their belief. They would look outside of themselves for evidence. I'm able to charge this much, because people are already paying me that much. But that's chicken and egg, right? Or I'm able to execute on this because I've already done it already. But that's chicken and egg, right? And yet most people turn to outside circumstance. And I want you to look in your own life and see if you are doing this. I can only do X, Y, and Z until the outside world tells me I am worthy of that. But that is actually backwards. Now, you can have experiences that you can use as reference that are transferable skills. I did it over here, I can do it here. I did it at this level, I can do it at this level. You can use your past experience to build your belief. That is perfectly fine. But the belief that you can do the thing comes before the doing of the thing, okay? So the belief that you can do the thing comes before you're able to receive the thing. Okay, this is super, super important. So most people tend to have to be reasonably close to what they desire to believe that they can have it. And most people would want to see the way to having it before they claimed that they want it, believed that they wanted it, okay? Or believed that they could have it, let me say it that way. Because desiring a thing and believing that you can have it are two separate things. They go hand in hand. Desire comes first, absolutely. You have to want what you want, okay? If you're not clear about what you want, you can't get there. But then next, you must have the belief in yourself that you can have it. So what is belief based on? Well, Napoleon Hill gives us a little clue here. He says, open-mindedness is essential for belief. So what do you need to be open-minded to? What do you need to be open to? Well, you need to be open to a larger, different vision for yourself. You have to be open to something bigger, open to seeing yourself as being more, having more, doing more, being worthy of more. Are you open to being worthy of more? Are you open to seeing a different experience for yourself? How could this be different for me? Does it have to be the same as it's always been? For instance, if you've always struggled, if you've always been disappointed, if you've always been let down, if you've always hit discouragement, struggle, is that in your mind's eye as the vision of how you need to experience life in order to achieve something? What if you were open to a different experience? Think about your vision and what it's going to take. Not saying here that there isn't going to be diligence or effort or persistence or challenging times or, quite frankly, some hard work. Yes, you need to show up for yourself. But I'm asking you, are you visioning what you actually desire? So aim high, Hill says. Aim high. No more effort is required to aim high in life, to demand abundance and prosperity, than is required to accept misery and poverty. So what is the highest that you can aim within your belief system? So for instance, right now, at the stage that I'm at, if I said I want to be a billionaire this year, I could not hold that. That is not in my belief system, okay? I could not hold that. That's beyond my belief system. But what's the highest that I could aim that is within my belief system? So as you guys may remember, my story was when I was making, my first quantum leap story was when I was making 138. And I aimed high. I aimed for $1 million, 7 figures that year. That I could hold in my belief system. I thought, wow, maybe I could do this. I could do this. If someone else did it, I could do it. And that year I got to 700K. I didn't make the million, sure enough. Okay. But if I hadn't been aiming high, I would have never gotten to the 700, much less eventually gotten to the seven figures. Okay. And I could have aimed a lot lower. For sure. I could have gone reasonable with my aim. Now, I'm not saying that your aim, your goal needs to be the same as my goal. Absolutely not. Please use your own gradient, use your own ledger, work within your belief system. What's the highest that you can aim right now? Okay? Because I had to face a huge number of demons going for that goal. It had to be worth it to me. And I would have had to face, quite frankly, those same demons going for a lower goal. So you might as well aim high. Okay? But here's the rub. You must believe that you can acquire it. You must believe that you can acquire it. And I would, at this stage, reread that poem several times and let it sink in because it's so profound. Life will pay the price, okay? Good morning, Amira Alvarez here, and welcome to another great day with the Morning Mindset Club. Okay, we are going to jump into the last section of this chapter on desire and finish it out today. I really encourage you to read this whole section. I'm not going to go into it in detail, but it's an important story to read. It is Hill's own personal story about his son being born without the ability to hear or speak, and how he used desire backed by faith to create an incredible outcome for his own son. And it's a worthwhile story to read numerous times and pull the lessons out of it. So the first place I would like to start here is where he says, nature could send me a child without ears, but nature could not induce me to accept the reality of the affliction. So he's saying here, he doesn't have to accept what the circumstances of his life were. And that is the same thing for you. What are the circumstances of your life right now that you are accepting that you don't actually need to accept? So think about that. What reality or realities are you accepting? He goes on to say, in my own mind, I knew that my son would hear and speak. How? ? I was sure there must be a way, and I knew I would find it. I thought of the words of the immortal Emerson. The whole course of things goes to teach us faith. We need only obey. Isn't that fascinating? Okay, so a few things to point out here. He didn't know how. He made that decision that it was going to happen based on the desire, and he did not know how. But he also knew that the whole process, the whole course of things, the whole reason for it was to teach us faith. This is so important. Think about this for yourself and the things that you are trying to create and desire. The whole course of things is to teach you to have desire backed by faith over circumstance, over your, quote, better judgment and reason. Okay? That's the perspective that you must have. Okay? That's the perspective of advantage. Okay. What else do I want to say here? He's going through all of this, and he says the outlook was far from encouraging, but desire backed by faith knows no such word as impossible. Okay, so you might want to think about that for yourself right now. What is looking far from encouraging that you could just claim the desire and have the faith and know no such word as impossible? Such an important thing here. He goes on to say, despite the fact that all the philosophy I had examined clearly indicated that every adversity brings with it the seed of an equivalent advantage, I must confess that I had not the slightest idea how this affliction could ever become an asset. He didn't see it in advance. It's very easy for us to say, oh, look at how magnificent this story turned out with his son being able to hear and use his affliction to help so many others and become more and do more in this world, and this huge happy ending. But he did not know that at the beginning when his son was an infant or young child or young adult, that this was going to work out. He had to have that faith and understand that every adversity brings with it a seed of equivalent advantage. This is the law of polarity here, okay? You have to be open to this and have faith in this concept even without understanding how right now. It has to be there. It has to be there. It has to be there. Okay? So what are you planting in your mind? Are you planting in your mind faith in what you desire? Or are you planting in your mind the full focus of the negative outcome or adversity that's in front of you? Okay, there's so much richness in this story. I suggest that you read it several times and pull out the nuggets for yourself. Those were a few that I wanted to share with you. And have an amazing day. Hello, and thank you for joining me for the Morning Mindset Club. Today, I want to take a little bit of time to flush out a topic that I think is very important for people to really recognize and see. And this is one of the things we've talked about in the last few days, that every failure brings with it the seed of success. So Napoleon Hill says every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent success. Every temporary defeat, every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent success. And this has been absolutely true in my own business, in my clients' life. I see this all the time. And one of the things that I do for my clients in particular is really help them in the moment of that feeling that everything is coming crashing down on them, that there is an opportunity here, an equivalent seed of something extraordinarily positive. And that helps them move through the periods that we all experience of defeat quite quickly. So let me give you a few examples of this. And I want to give you an example. Let me start off with an example from my own business. And I speak about this one quite a bit because it's a large one. So at one point, I think it was now a couple years ago, I invested quite a large amount of money with a contractor to do a particular kind of work, $30,000. And all my spidey senses were coming up saying, no, this doesn't seem right. I'm getting something off in this situation. But he came highly recommended by someone I trusted. And I overrode my intuitive sense. And there's a difference between your intuitive sense and just fear about stepping forward into more in your life. They're two different feelings that people actually have a hard time splicing apart. And it's one of the things that you really need to learn how to do in order to trust yourself. And this was a great experience for me because it ended up solidifying my ability to trust myself around these things, and which I didn't have in the past. So let me tell you a little bit more about that. So I went ahead, I signed the contract, all my spidey senses were going off, Turned out not to be a horrible experience. I got some good key things out of it, but there were other, but it wasn't, I didn't work well with this person, and I didn't get the value that I wanted out of it, and it wasn't suited to what I was doing in my life and in my business, and it wasn't a good fit. And I actually knew that at the get-go, but I didn't trust myself to listen to it. Again, not the same thing as being afraid to step into more for yourself and talking yourself out of a big, bold decision. That's very, very different. And you could say, made this huge mistake of spending $30K. And yet now the equivalent is huge. I know when something is a no for me and when something is a yes for me. Absolutely. Experiencing that, I could not have gotten to that emphatic, 100% absolutely clear place without having made that quote unquote mistake, having had that defeat or failure in that experience. But I had to be willing to see the positive, and that positive has saved me millions of dollars since then, has saved me a ton of heartbreak in relationships, all sorts of things. Okay, so that's an experience from my own business. Now, what about from my clients? So without telling tales out of school, so I'm not going to give the specifics here. There have been times where people in their lives have died. People that they love have died, and that they can either see that as a negative, something that's really causing extraordinary hardship and pain, or the reason to go for more in their own lives. And I'm thinking about a particular client who actually very quickly saw how this person who died represented the energy of what she wanted to be being in life but wasn't, and decided in that moment to go pursue her dreams at a much higher level to actualize that energy. So it became this incredibly powerful tool for actualization in that sadness, right? There's always this equivalent. And she's actually gone on to close the gap on time in terms of going after this goal and being the woman that she sees herself to be, and was represented in the person who died. This has come up with clients around when team members leave. It can be crushing. It can be like, oh my God, that's a huge defeat. How am I ever going to compensate for this person who is a key critical aspect on their team? And with the right coaching and the right focus, they have been able to actually up-level their support in their business and take their business to the next level. Okay, so it's all in how you approach it. And I see this all the time, and it's one of the critical pieces for people when they are going for more and growing and going after their goals. How can you take a negative experience, and instead of crucifying yourself, instead of making yourself wrong, instead of demeaning yourself, how can you, that's my beautiful coffee maker that I forgot to turn off. How can you really use that experience for something so much more? And you got to get your mind right around that. Because if you don't get your mind right, you will never grow your business or your life. You will be stuck. You will plateau. You will keep yourself at the same level. And I see this happen all the time as well. Not with my clients. My clients, if they are engaged and are doing what I advise them to do, they get to the next level and the next level and the next level quite quickly. But most people are brought up, trained, and committed to beating themselves up, making themselves wrong, and staying in the defeat longer than is necessary. Now you might say, oh, I moved through that quickly. And yet I bet there are things that you're still beating yourself up for. I bet there are things that you haven't moved through, that you haven't let go of. I bet there are things that you hold on for years, months, weeks, days, hours. Hours. Think about it in terms of hours. Are you still holding on to that thing that happened to you yesterday? What if you knew how to let go of that so much quicker? This is what you need to learn how to do. This is what I'm calling you forward to do. This is the carrot that I'm holding out. And with that, I'm Amira Alvarez. Be unstoppable and go out and slay the day. Okay, let's dive into the bonus content for the morning mindset teachings for this week. This bonus content is only available here on the podcast, so glad you are listening. We are going to go back to the quote, "Failure permits no alibis." It is such a strong statement, and it's absolutely true. No alibis, no excuses. Yet how do we embody this as human beings, right? Who are fallible, who make mistakes, who have many desires in life, conflicting desires often. That's a challenge, not what we're going to be discussing here. And we have lots of things that we are engaged in. How is it that we can have no excuses or no alibis in order to achieve what we want? So let's say you have a goal. Maybe it's a sales goal. Maybe it's a workout goal. Maybe it's a weight goal. You're either going to be moving towards it or away from it. You're either going to be growing, expanding, becoming more in order to create that outcome that you desire, or you're going to be retracting, becoming small, dying in some way, away and thus moving away from your goal. You're either going to be creating or disintegrating. You're either moving towards the goal or away from it. It can't be both. And that's the rub. That's the cold hard truth here. It's not both. At any one time, you're either moving towards it or away from it. And if you want to achieve your goals in record time, faster than you ever thought possible, and get out of that loop of sort of hitting your own personal wall or ceiling on what you can achieve, you have to recognize where and when you are making excuses and actually move through them at a much higher level. So you have to keep going when in the past you have gone the other direction, made an excuse, started dying, started becoming small, started contracting by some form of distraction, procrastination, not doing the thing that you know you need to do. So it can't be both. We live in a cause and effect universe. If you didn't get what you wanted, your goal, in the time frame that you wanted to achieve it in, either the time frame was incorrect. And a good example of that would be something like saying you want to lose 100 pounds in 4 days in a healthy fashion. Well, that's just not going to happen, okay? It's probably not even going to happen if you did it in an unhealthy fashion, like you stopped eating for 4 days, okay? It's just not the time frame for that. Or you didn't do what it takes. So either the time frame is off, or you didn't do all that you could do to achieve that goal. You didn't do what it takes. And that's the part that we actually want to look at, because that's the place of excuses and alibis. And whether it's that you had to go finish that other project first, or attend to the kids, or run this errand, or heck, clean out the closet. I mean, I love having a neat and orderly environment. I love letting go of things that no longer serve me. It's huge. But are you doing that instead of doing the thing that you know you need to be doing in order to move the needle in your life and your business? Another way this comes up is saying that it's someone else's fault, blaming someone else. That's a giant alibi. You are always 100% personally responsible for your outcomes. So if you find yourself saying, it's my partner's fault, it's my employee's fault, it's my coach's fault, it's my someone else's fault, it's my mother's fault, my father's fault, it doesn't matter who you're blaming. You're blaming someone and you're not taking personal responsibility. So you have to look at these places and start taking 100% personal responsibility for your outcome. This means no excuses, no alibis. How do you have that no excuse attitude? How do you create something like that? Because I don't know about you, but I was not raised with that. Now, I was raised in some ways with exacting standards, right? In some places I was asked to step it up and, look at how I could do better, right? But in a lot of other places, there were a ton of excuses, a ton of places where it was fine to, not do what you had to do. Let me give you a personal example from my upbringing. Grades, schoolwork, things like that, writing a research paper, things like that. That was encouraged. That was like, don't come up with an excuse, do better here. But around, what we ate or our weight or whether we exercised, let's just hang out and read the paper. Let's just do this instead. Okay, there were a lot of excuses around there. That. So think about that. Went off on a little tangent there. But you have to learn, at least I did, have to learn how to take a no excuse attitude in all areas of my life that I was going for some new level goal. So one way that we help people with this is the 30-day commitment challenge that we do. So look for that. We're probably going to be doing another one of those soon. So keep your eyes open for that. But I also want to give you some questions that you can ask yourself regularly to see if you are off course and making an excuse, okay? Coming up with an alibi. So ask yourself, why didn't you achieve what you set out to achieve? Your answer to that is your excuse. Ouch. Isn't that sort of an ouch? But it's true. And you're going to need to own that, okay? The other question to ask yourself is, could you have done more? And you'll probably say, yes, but ... Yes, but I was doing this instead. Yes, but this came up. Yes, but whatever. It doesn't matter what that thing is, that but ... All you need to know is that's your excuse, the thing that comes after the but. Look at your excuses. Are you okay with them? Most people, this is really important, listen up, guys. Most people will come up with a story to make it okay, all right, to have made that excuse, to have made that choice, to have made that decision in their life. Most people will come up with a story that explains why that is okay. But all this does is hurt you. Oh, let's go back. Why do we do that? We do that because we don't want to be wrong. You made a choice. And now, 2020 hindsight, maybe that wasn't the best choice. Maybe that didn't give you the results that you wanted. And if you think that making a mistake like that means that you're wrong, you will defend against it and you will come up with a story that explains why it was right to do that. But instead, what if you just accepted the truth of the situation? Because really, all that defending of yourself, making sure that you're not wrong, that what you did was right, that's just a story that keeps you stuck. All it does is hurt you. All it does is keep you trapped, getting the same level of results. The level of truth that you're willing to accept about yourself will determine your growth and your outcomes, no exception. So instead of defending yourself, say yes. I waited to call so-and-so for 3 days or 2 weeks or a month. I did X first and got distracted and never got to Y. I did that. That was me. Okay. How do I shift that? I took a week instead of a day to pull together those numbers and present that proposal and start working out or book that trip or sign up for that course or follow through on my desires. Whatever it is, what is the excuse that you made? Look at the truth of that and own it without denigrating yourself. Now, if you think this sounds like just a horrible existence, okay, like all work and no play, where's the fun in life? Like, I'm just going to be pushing myself so hard. This is going to be such a struggle. All of that. I want you to ask yourself, why don't you love this? Why don't you love your work? Why don't you love the process? Why don't you love what's going to get you the success that you desire? And why haven't you bridged that gap in your thinking? And don't make up an excuse here either. Failure accepts no alibis. Love the process of bringing yourself up. Love the recognition of the excuse. And love taking the action to eliminate it. Failure accepts no alibis. Be unstoppable. Rock it out. Have an amazing day. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for joining us and for being part of the Unstoppable Woman movement. This special series is a part of our Morning Mindset Club and comes to you here on the podcast every Saturday morning. If you'd like to join the Morning Mindset Club at no charge, you won't have to wait a whole week and can listen to this series in short daily snippets every morning. Plus, you'll get a quick implementation practice and mastery check-in to go along with it. You can find the Morning Mindset Club info in the show notes below, or just head over to theunstoppablewoman.com/mindset club. And as always, please share this podcast with 2 or 3 women who are ready for exponential growth and exponential wealth. And if you're game, we always appreciate a review on iTunes. That really helps us reach and elevate more women. Thanks so much, and be unstoppable.